On Christmas Day in 800, Pope Leo III crowned Charlemagne Emperor of the Romans. This was an important differentiation from his prior title as a king, as this new title held far more weight. This alliance with the Pope increased both parties' power substantially, uniting the religious and political fronts in Western Europe. With the backing of the Pope, Charlemagne's main goal was simple: unite all Germanic people and convert them to Christianity. He was quite successful in his ruling, and by the time of his death, his reign covered the majority of Western Europe. Charlemagne chose the site of the Aachen Cathedral to be the center of his reign in 800. Today, it still stands as the oldest cathedral in Northern Europe. There is endless symbolism within the architecture of this piece of work that has kept historians and architects fascinated for hundreds of years. From the octagonal shape to its bronze leaf motifs, each facet of the cathedral can be traced to a deeper meaning than what meets the eye. Following his death, the Treaty of Verdun was established in order to decide Charlemagne's successor. The empire was split among multiple descendants to rule. However, soon the Saxons took the throne to rule. In 955, the Saxon king Otto I was crowned the Holy Roman Empire by the Pope. Following the death of Henry II in 1024, the throne was passed on to Conrad II. This proved unproblematic for the empire. However, the election of Pope Gregory VII in 1073 resulted in a massive conflict that threw the balance of church and state into question all across Europe. Tension grew between the newly elected pope and Henry IV over who had the power to appoint bishops. After endless conflict, Gregory VII excommunicated Henry IV, and the Duke Randolph of Swabia stepped in to take the vacancy. A few years later, the Pope again excommunicated Henry IV, but this time with far less public support behind him. Ultimately, it was the Pope that had to flee Rome as Henry was crowned emperor once again. The investiture controversy deeply divided the nation and led to nearly 50 years of civil war. It wasn't until the Hohenstaufen dynasty came to power in 1138 that imperial rule claimed its power back, though unrest was still very prevalent among the people.
The Castle of Nuremberg is located in the historical center of Nuremberg in Bavaria, Germany, and it was considered the symbol of this town. This castle was built by the Hohenstaufens, and they were a dynasty of German kings. This castle was historically significant in 1050 to 1571. This castle is known for holding imperial diets and court assemblies. It was tradition for a new emperor to hold their first imperial diet at this castle. Unfortunately, this changed with Charles V, when he moved his imperial diet to Worms due to an epidemic in Nuremberg at the time. It was very common for emperors to stay at this castle while passing through the realm and visiting the city. Specifically, Ludwig IV, Charles IV, and Frederick III stayed here quite frequently. Now, after the 30 Years' War, the imperial diets were moved to Regensburg, which was around the time of 1663. Charles IV held the Golden Bull imperial diet at the Castle of Nuremberg in 1356. The goal was to get rid of interferences that occurred within the political system. This was a famous meeting that focused on the election of a German ruler. This election would be controlled by 7 electors. This was a way of ensuring that the ruler would be someone that held majority vote. The electors, who were also princes, gained sovereign rights in the areas they ruled from this imperial diet. So the Golden Bull excluded the Pope's ability to make a political decision in certain situations. The Golden Bull was the imperial diet that determined that future emperors would hold their first imperial diet at the Castle of Nuremberg until Charles V, who moved his imperial diet to Worms.
The Eltz Castle is located in present-day Wersham, Germany, and has been owned by the Eltz family for more than 800 years. In 1157, Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa created the Eltz Castle as an act of donation, which was signed and sealed by Rudolf Eltz as one of the witnesses. This began the construction of the first sections of the Eltz Castle, with other sections added throughout the years. The base of the castle is a large oval rock that led to its unusual layout. The structure borders the Moselle River on 3 sides, which was planned ahead of the construction. This strategic location connected the Moselle River to an important trade route. This route was one of the most important trade routes in the German Empire. The Eltz feud was a confrontation between Archbishop Balduin of Luxembourg's expansion politics and the Lords of Eltz. Balduin started with cannon attacks against the castle, but did not make much progress against the fortifications and its defense. He shifted to a siege tower and catapults to continue the assault against the castle. The Knights of Eltz eventually lost after years of confrontation and had to remove the fortifications around the residence. The castle remained a fortified residence as a result of the feud. The family was awarded for their services during the chaos of the Reformation and the Turkish Wars. Emperors Charles VI awarded the family Eltz of the Golden Lion with the title Reichsgraf, or Count of the Reich, in Vienna in 1733. The Eltz family was also awarded the Grobes Palatinat, or the privilege to act on behalf of the emperor. This would allow the family to elect notaries, to legitimize illegitimate children, to award coats of arms with shield and helmet decor to ordinary citizens, to appoint public judges and scribes, and to free serfs.
In 1250, the death of Frederick II led to several kings who were appointed and competed against one another. In 1356, a constitution was made for the empire but was largely unsettled. The passing of the throne procedure varied by king. Lands were split and were relatively independent. This led to the Reformation period, in which the Holy Roman Empire wanted to gain more cohesiveness in a region full of separated kingdoms. In 1418, the Council of Constance happened, which resolved disputes between competing popes and began the decline of Corpus Christianum, or the unity of church and state. 1486, Frederick III assembled Reichstag, composed of the region's dukes, to create a legal structure within that empire. An example of the dukes that were separated within this region can be exemplified through the Borghausen Castle, which is located near Munich, Germany. Between 1255 and 1503, it was occupied by Dukes of Lower Bavarian Wittelsbach, and it was used to kill and torture criminals during times of war.
Hello everyone, I'm Tristan Fraley, and we will be continuing our Holy Roman Empire tour with the Prague Castle. A large fire destroyed most of the castle in 1541, but under the Habsburg family, the castle was rebuilt and has a nice Renaissance-style appearance to it. Rudolph II built a Spanish hall onto the ever-growing castle, where he kept all his fine arts and jewelry. The castle today is approximately 77,000 square feet, which is the Guinness World Record for largest castle in the world. The Bohemian Revolt was one of the wars to start the beginning of this 30 Years' War. This revolt led to a large portion of the palace being destroyed and raided. The Spanish hall was entirely destroyed during this last battle in 1647. In the Battle of Prague, the Habsburg forces, led by Octavio Piccolomini, were able to repel the Swedes and French from what is known to us as Austria. This battle in Prague at its main castle was the last significant fight in the 30 Years' War. The Swedes captured the castle from the forces of the Holy Roman Empire, and even though they were unable to take all of the city, they were able to hold on to the castle and raid the jewels and fine arts collection. What was interesting was that Holy Roman Emperors, would stay here during the summers and visit. This was their most trivial spot to go to, and even though emperors were not very keen on staying in one place, they would stay here for months at a time. Now, the fall of the Holy Roman Empire was led by the French warfare and the Peace of Westphalia. Various parties signed a treaty to bring an end to the violence of these colonial wars. The French started to rebel against the Holy Roman Empire because they wanted full control over their nation. The empire fell to France in 1806 on July 12th. 16 German states left the Holy Roman Empire and made the Confederation of the Rhine, and due to an overwhelming army on August 6th, Francis II, the last Holy Roman Emperor, resigned, leaving all states, colonies, and nations free to rule themselves, thus ending the Holy Roman Empire.